Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Gina, and let's talk about plants. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Hoya genus, the Hoya genus, and we have many different types of Hoya to look at today, but one thing they all have in common is these are all going to be small leaf Hoyas. So this is a in-depth look at all the small leaf Hoyas in my collection. And I'm actually not sure exactly how many I have, but I have a lot. A number will be up here and you will see just how many we have to look at today. So it's been I think about a year since my last collection video like this. So a lot of these plants have grown. Some of them actually might not look as good as they did the last time because I don't know what it is, but sometimes I run into dry rot with my Hoyas and I have to start over, or I have to trim them down like a ton. And so I'm not completely starting over, but we are starting over from a pretty small plant. So some will look the same, some will look bigger, and there's quite a few new ones since that last video. So, and also in the last video, there were some I included as small leaf because, I mean, they aren't like super small leaf, but they aren't like big leaf. So I wanted to get them in there. Really, I need to do a medium leaf Hoya video, but I had included those with my small leaf Hoyas. And this time, because I have so many new additions, so many new small leaf additions to my collection, I'm not including those medium size leaves in this video. So in my house, I keep my Hoyas, my small leaf Hoyas, in a few different locations. So a lot of them are in my IKEA Millsbo tall cabinet, which is right over here. That's for a majority of my, especially my new ones, the new ones that came in as cuttings, and I had to root. So those are in there. I do have some, this is my dining room directly adjacent to where I am sitting right now in my living room. There are a few in there, and then there are some in this room because both of these rooms get amazing light. So my more prized plants, I want to be in these two rooms. And then I do have some in my office and a couple that live in my grow tent. So those are the locations. And we're going to start with, I think we're going to start with some grow tent plants. So this first one, this is the Hoya Kanyakum Mariana. I haven't talked about this plant in such a long time. I totally forgot the name of it, but I have it stamped here on the pot. So the Hoya Kanyakum Mariana. So this plant is living in my grow tent, and the reason I put it in the grow tent is because it was not growing for me. It stopped growing. It was doing absolutely nothing. So this was living in my office under grow lights, and the humidity in that room is typically around like 30%, unless I'm running the humidifier. And then I can get up to between 40 and 50%, but typically 30%. So when I first got this plant, it did grow for me, and then for whatever reason, it stopped. So, and for like a year, it did absolutely nothing. So I did move this one. I figured after I got my grow tent, I thought, well, it's not doing anything, so let me try something different. So I took it to my grow tent. And that did the trick. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of new growth. This whole stem here is new. Here's another little stem right here. And all of these have here's another one. They all have leaves, new leaves coming out of them, and it's doing pretty well. Still not like, oh, here's another growth point over here. So they're just like popping out right here. That's a new growth point. So these new stems, Oh, and I keep spotting new ones. They're just really popping out all over this plant. So, even though it is now growing for me, it hasn't been super fast growing. It's probably been in the grow tent pretty soon after I got that grow tent, which I think was like January, maybe February. So it was just like maybe a month after I got that tent. So it's been in there maybe 6 months, possibly 6 months. But yeah, it has made a huge difference for this plant. And this is it's different. I mean, I know there are other Hoyas that do look like this. It's kind of papery, kind of feels like paper. It's really thick leaves, real and ruffly. I know my lighting is not great for you to be able to see. And it's facing the wrong direction. The leaves, they're facing me instead of facing you. There we go. You can see the ruffling. So it's a neat plant. I don't know that I would call it pretty, but it's interesting. It's an interesting Hoya. So that's Hoya Kanyakum Mariana. So the next one that is living in my grow tent is the Hoya species Affinity Bertonia, I think is the full name of this plant. And this one used to be much larger, and it just ran into trouble for whatever reason. Maybe it wasn't getting enough water, and then it ended up with dry rot. That's a big possibility, but my big plant, which was probably about the size of the one we just looked at, I had to chop it up. And I made like probably 4 cups of it like this. I have 2 in my grow tent. I think I might have sold 1 or 2 of them, or maybe one of the cuttings just didn't take after I propagated it. But it's cute. I mean, it's fuzzy. It's a very soft, fuzzy leaf. I enjoy it. It's not the most beautiful. It has like a really dark foliage, and yeah, that's Hoya species Affinity Bertonia. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. So if I'm being honest, this one we just looked at, the Bertonia, it's not my favorite. It really isn't my favorite. But you know, it's part of my collection. I'm happy to have it in my collection, but it's not a favorite. You know, some of our plants we like more than others. So, all right, so those are the only 2 that live in my grow tent. Those are the only ones that were having issues and needed to go into the grow tent. So that's good. Out of all these, only 2. All right, so next, I think we're gonna go to this one, and this is Hoya Matilde, and I think she can be considered a splash. At one point, I had one stem that was coming out super splash, and I did propagate that stem, but I think I left a little bit of it left. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. I'm not seeing it. Although there is a new stem coming out here. As you can see, this new little leaf here is super splash. So that could be where it was coming out of. I'm not sure. That actually looks like a whole brand new stem, so maybe not. But this is just a Hoya Matilde splash for the most part. And this one, this was oh, here it is right here. I think this was the super splash stem right here. And you can see some of these leaves are just very silver here. Very pretty. So yeah, that was the super splash stem. So now I have 2, it looks like. Another one has popped out. So anyway, So this one was this was a rehab plant. It was another one of those, and you're probably gonna hear this a lot from me. It had dry rot, and I had to reroot this plant, and it's still in recovery. It's still, I mean, I do have new growth, like that one super splash stem you saw popping out. And right here, this is new growth coming out here. And yeah, so yeah, this is one of my favorites. I really do enjoy the Hoya Matilde. It's very pretty. I will always have a Hoya Matilde in my collection because they're just such lovely Hoyas. And for the most part, very easy to care for the most part. Like I said, I ran into dry rot issues with this plant, but for the most part, it does great. If you are really on top of this plant, you will do great with it. That's Hoya Matilde. Okay, so let's grab another one here that had some issues. So this is Hoya Chroniana Black. It can get even blacker. I've had it get even darker foliage than this, and I think maybe it depends on how much light it's getting, because this one is not as dark as it used to be, and maybe because it was under a little bit of stress, because this one I think was like teetering on the edge of dry rot, and somehow it turned itself around for me. I don't know how, I really don't. It was showing signs of dry rot, and it was just recent. And I just was feeling a little overwhelmed, and I decided to ignore it. Because, you know, I have like a bazillion propagations of this plant, and I knew that if I did lose this plant, I had plenty more as backups. But so it somehow stopped. Whatever was wrong with it, it stopped. I stopped getting all the yellow leaves that were going to fall off, fell off, and I haven't gotten any more yellowing of the leaves. No more leaves dropping. So it figured itself out, I guess. But the deeper, like blacker, the reason it's called Chroniana Black is because the leaves get almost black. And all of my propagations in my grow tent, they all have that black coloring. So like I said, maybe the reason this one isn't is because it was stressed. I don't know, maybe it's a light thing. Maybe my grow tent plants are getting much more light, so they have that deeper, dark black coloring. So yeah, but it's a really neat Hoya. It has really nice smelling flowers when it flowers, and yeah, it's a nice addition to my collection. This is the mother plant, and I've probably had this one for probably 2 years, I think now, and it is a very fast grower, and it's a great propagator also. So yeah, Hoya Chroniana Black. Okay, so we are moving on to another Chroniana. This one is just the Chroniana Splash, and this is another mother plant. One of my biggest Hoyas, small leaf Hoyas in my collection. And this one, it lives in this room on the ladder shelf over there, and pretty close to the window, and it's doing phenomenally, as you can see. It really needs to be trimmed. It even has you can see some flowers there. And I love this plant. I love how the glossy leaves. That's one of the things I love about the Chronianas, is they have glossy looking, shiny looking leaves. They're really pretty. Just really deep coloring, whether it's silver or black or just green. They're just lovely. I just love them. So this one, I said it needs to be trimmed. This one keeps wanting to topple over. It's top heavy because it's just in this little, probably like 3-inch maybe planter. And I have, you know, all of this down here, it just keeps wanting to topple over. So I have to be really super careful with this plant. But yeah, it's an easy. I don't think this one has ever tried to dry rot on me. It's been a good plant. It's a very good plant. And I highly recommend this one. It's a more common, a less expensive plant, but so rewarding, as you can see. That's just your standard Hoya Chroniana splash. Okay, so the last one I have brought here to the table is this one. This is the Hoya Kiliana variegata. One of my very favorite plants, one of my very favorite Hoyas, one of my very favorite small leaf Hoyas, and it's just gorgeous and very, very easy care. Now this one has never tried to dry rot on me. It's never tried to root rot on me, which is surprising. To me, this looks like a plant that would be more difficult, but it's not. It's pretty amazing. I've gotten quite a bit of growth. This whole stem right here is new for this summer. This growth, probably all of this actually. It's all new this summer. And this one lives in my office under grow lights, and it's just doing so well. Love it. So I will be propagating this one soon, very soon. Actually, all of these, pretty much all of these small leaf Hoyas, I've been holding off propagating them for my shop, for my store, thepinktrellis.com, because I wanted them to all be lush and nice and full for this video. So once this video is done, I will be chopping away at these, getting them smaller. But yeah, and this one I saw has a peduncle. I don't know if you can see it. There is a peduncle there. Now I have never gotten this one to actually bloom for me. Here, it's right here. They have always blasted. So blasted just means that they fall off. Those buds fall off before they actually bloom. So I have no idea what this plant or what the flowers smell like on this plant, because I have never gotten to that point. So I don't know, we'll see. I highly doubt this is actually going to bloom for me, but you never know. Maybe I'll get lucky this time. That's Hoya Kiliana variegata. Okay, so I need to put some of these back, a lot of these back, and go grab some new ones for you guys. So let me do that real quick. Okay, so I've got our next batch to look at. I never realized how big these plants have gotten until I remove them from their place where they normally sit, and I bring them to a new location, and I'm just like, whoa, just whoa. Okay, so I'm gonna grab, there was no room on the table for this one, so I'm gonna grab this one first. So this is my Hoya Ching Hongensis, and it is a very large plant. I just love the growth pattern on this one. It's just so big. It's one of my very favorites. So if you can see up close what those leaves look like, they're very small leaf and they're very cute. And this one is in one of those that I really need to propagate. I'm going to cut this one way back, like way back. So each stem will only probably be about this big. This one's getting chopped way back. Yeah, it's a real cute one. It's got fuzzy leaves and it's a fun one. It's a fun Hoya. highly recommend that one. Okay, so kind of similar to that one in its growth pattern, we have the Hoya Glariana. And this one is another one that is going to be chopped way back, like again, only about this much. And the reason I'm doing this, you may be saying to yourself, Gina, why? Why would you do that? Why would you cut this down? And the reason being is because it takes up so much space. Like, I don't have a lot of space to continue to, let this do this growth like this. So yeah, that's why I'm chopping them down. And both of these are pretty fast growers, so it's not like they're not gonna grow again. So basically I'm going to be propagating these plants, and of course, eventually these will be ready in my shop for you guys to purchase if you so choose. But yeah, so now this Hoya Glariana, when it was smaller, it was living in my IKEA Millsbow tall cabinet. It's, as you can see, it would have outgrown that cabinet. So I moved this to my office, and I've discovered that I think this is one of those plants that needs a higher humidity, and I don't think it's getting enough high humidity in my office. Or it could be a change in lighting, maybe even a change in temperature that this isn't responding well to, but I don't know if you can probably see that. See how the tips on this plant, a lot of these leaves, they're yellow. They have yellow tips and they've been falling off. See this empty stem here? This is all leaves that have fallen off. Up here. So yeah, so this plant has not adjusted super well to coming out of that cabinet, and that's another reason why I want to chop this down, is because of those yellow leaves. It just doesn't look that nice. But yeah, I mean, it's still the plant is still alive. All these stems are still very green. It's still a healthy, what I would call a healthy plant, but I don't know exactly what is causing this yellowing and this dying off of these leaves. I think it's because of humidity. I think this is also maybe one of those Hoyas that is a little bit more of a fussy type of plant. So this one is planted, it's in pon. Yeah, it's rooted in pon, and I love it. I do love this plant. Just like the Ching Hongensis, I love the crazy growth. I just have to contain it. I just have to, yeah, I can't let it, I can enjoy it like this for a little bit and then it has to be chopped down. So, I mean, if you have room in your house to grow this as a huge, I mean, you can see just how big this can get. And this isn't even a big plant, really. It's a pretty small plant. It just has really long stems. But this part of the plant is quite small. So it's a fun one. I do recommend this one. Hoya Glariana. I'm gonna set this down here. Okay, next up is we're just gonna do another similar one. So this here, this is the Hoya Kuminjiana, and this is another one that has just kind of gone a little nuts, as you can see. I just need to attach this one to the trellis and it will be fine. I don't need to chop this one up. It just needs to be wrapped around the trellis like that. But this is a fun one. I don't know if you can see. I would consider this a small leaf Hoya. This is as big as these leaves get, and they're just a solid green, and it's a fun one. It's a fun Hoya, I think. I don't know that this one has ever bloomed for me. I don't think it has. I don't think I have seen the blooms on this one yet. So that will be fun if it ever decides to do that. But yeah, that's Hoya Kuminjiana. And then this one, this is the Hoya Sunrise. So I wasn't sure if I should include this one in my small leaf or not, because the leaves do get, you know, this one is probably, should be in a medium size actually, because you can see those leaves they're not particularly small. I mean, these up here are kind of small, but I don't know, for some reason I always, when I think of the Hoya Sunrise, I think of a small leaf Hoya. So that's why I'm including this one. So mine, this one is one of those that did have some dry rot, and I had to reroot it, and it was not growing for the longest time, and so I stuck it in my grow tent, and then all this started to happen. I got all of this new growth. So and I think it was last month I took it out of the grow tent. I took it out to show you guys in another video, and I never put it back into the grow tent. And it's doing great. It's still continuing to grow, and yeah, it's handling being out of that grow tent and being in my office, and it's doing great. So still waiting for those leaves to color up. But that's a pretty one. That's Hoya Sunrise. And this next one, this is the Hoya, I think it's Hoyanumerioides. I always forget. I get this confused with, I think, the Dischidia numularia. Similar, Hoyanumerioides, numularia. It gets confusing, but this is one of my favorites because I love these fuzzy leaves. Just a real pretty one. Much prettier than like the Bertonia. So even though the leaves are similar, like that deeper green coloring with that fuzziness, to me, this one is so much prettier. I just think it's so much prettier. And this one is a prolific bloomer. I have tons of peduncles coming out on this one here, and where else? I saw some more. Oh, up here. So this one, and very fragrant. When those blooms open, they are so fragrant. There's two more down here, and then a tiny one right there. So it's going to be pretty smelly before too long here, but so that's Hoyanumerioides, and I love this one. So this next one, this is one of my more challenging Hoyas. So this is the Hoya curtissiai. And I know I'm not alone in saying that it's a more challenging Hoya. It just, I don't know, you can see I have lost lots of leaves on this plant. All these empty stems here where the leaves have fallen off. Here, just some yellowing. They just, I don't know. I get a lot of yellow leaves on this plant, and I don't think, it's not like a dry rot or a root rot situation. I don't know exactly what I'm not giving this plant enough of. Maybe it needs a lot more water than what I'm giving it. I don't think it's a lighting thing, and I don't think it's a humidity thing, because these leaves, they're very similar to like the Kanyakum Mariana, kind of papery. They're just real thick, really thick, papery leaves, but it's a pretty one. I mean, I love the foliage, but I'm still trying to figure out this plant. Still haven't figured it out. Here is one. There is some new growth. This is a new strand, a couple of new strands here. They get caught up on each other, but that's a new strand. So it is still growing. It's not stagnant. It hasn't stopped growing. Like the Kanyakum Mariana did for me, but yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. pretty common. You can find these at your big box stores. Yeah. Hoya curtissiai. All right, so we have another Chroniana. This is the Chroniana Super Silver. Love this plant. Again, as you can see, it has those glossy leaves. So beautiful. I just love this. And this is my mother plant, and this one was one of those. It actually had some dry rot, and I had to reroot this one. And it's back in the soil. This one I put back in the soil, and it's doing great. Really happy with this plant. And this one does. Now this plant, don't think it has bloomed for me yet, but I do have another one I can show you, a propagation of this plant, and this one blooms all the time for me. So this is a propagation of the mother plant. It's its own mother plant now, and this one it bloomed all summer long. I don't see any current flowers, but so that's just another example of the Chroniana Super Silver. So pretty. And then I think last in this batch we have Hoya Rebecca, one of my very favorite Hoyas, small leaf Hoyas. So cute. Just a real simple, pretty common plant, but it's so adorable, and if you sun stress it, it will get some red to the leaves, and it's just beautiful. It's just a lovely small leaf Hoya. A must-have in everybody's Hoya collection, if you ask me. Hoya Rebecca. All right, I'm going to put these back, and I'll go get some more. Okay, so real quick, I do have a couple of hanging ones I want to share with you guys. And so I have this one. This is the Hoya Comuniana, which this hangs in my office. And it's very similar. I also have a Hoya Hongensis Splash, which I am having a hard trouble like telling the difference between the two. I'll include a picture of what the Hongensis Splash looks like. They're just so similar, but very pretty, a very pretty trailing one. And then this one, I wasn't sure if I should include this. This is the Hoya linearis. Super, super big one, super beautiful. Love the Hoya linearis. Again, I think this would be considered small leaf. They do have small little leaves. So pretty. Love this. Everyone needs a Hoya linearis. So that's Hoya linearis and Hoya Comuniana. Love these. Two beautiful ones. Hang right next to each other in my office. Okay, so now we're into the IKEA Millsbo tall cabinet. These are all plants that live in that cabinet. So we're going to start with, this is Hoya Serpins, which is one of the smallest of the small leaves in my collection. So this plant has never done like super well for me. And I think it's because I didn't keep it in high enough humidity. And so it was always just sitting in ambient room humidity. So it just didn't really, it would grow, it just didn't grow a lot. And then I stuck it into the cabinet, and it has taken off. This is a lot of new growth here. Cute new little leaves. So it's really definitely, if you have this plant, give it a lot of humidity. It does need it. So that's Hoya Serpins. Another one that enjoys higher humidity is the Hoya Rotunda Flora. A very cool leaf on this, very unique, very different from all the others. This one, lots of new growth, new stem, new leaves. It loves the cabinet. It loves the high humidity. That's Hoya Rotunda Flora. This one, this is Hoya Kiliana yellow. So we looked at the Hoya Kiliana variegata previously. This is just the non-variegated version, and it has yellow flowers. And this is a new growth point here, new growth. This one was, it kind of stalled in the growth department for me until I stuck it into the IKEA cabinet and has taken off. So another one that definitely appreciates higher humidity. Hoya Kiliana yellow, cute little pot. And then this one is a newer one for me. This is the Hoya ETS 10. So I've had this in my collection. See those leaves? Pretty splashy. So I've had this one in my collection. It's new, maybe 3 months, maybe? Not very long. And this one is, which I hate, it's rooted in fluval stratum. I am not a fan of fluval stratum. I want to get it out of that. I think this plant probably would have grown more for me in the couple months that I've had it if it wasn't in fluval stratum. I'm not a fan of this stuff. Don't like it. So that one is one I need to transfer out. But that is the Hoya ETS 10, and I think next year at this time it's going to look so much better because it will have been planted in a better substrate, and I think it'll be a much bigger, much more beautiful plant. So that's something I need to work on. And then here we have Hoya Thomsonii Splash, which this was just a cutting, I believe, when I received it. It's got some new baby leaves. It's just a baby, still has a lot of growing to do. This is a very fuzzy leaf, very fuzzy. Cute. Hoya Thomsonii Splash. All right, so next we have Hoya Glariana variegata, which is another one that's pretty new to me. It's a very pretty variegated plant. I have chopped this one. I just recently chopped this one, propagated this one, just because it's such a tiny little thing. I do want to get it to be a bigger plant. So I already did chop this one. Just a couple of leaves came off, just took a couple of leaves to try and propagate, and they're in my grow tent. But this is another one next year. It will be fun to see what it's looking like. Hoya Glariana variegata. And then this one, this is Hoya Lyi, Lyi. This one, it grew a lot for me, and then it kind of stopped, and I don't know why. And then I put this one into the greenhouse cabinet, the IKEA greenhouse cabinet, like maybe 2 months ago. And look, it's just loving that humidity. So this is one that definitely, if you can do it, give it high humidity, and it will do so much better for you. Very pretty. And what else haven't we looked at? I think we looked at this one. So this is the Hoya carmeline, which is a lot like these other ones we've looked at that this one like stalled for me with growth, and then I put it into the greenhouse cabinet, and finally, I thought there was new growth. So finally, you probably can't see it. Over here, there's a new stem popped out. So again, I think after being in this cabinet next year, when we look at this time, it's going to be a much different plant. It's another really cute little pot. That's Hoya carmeline. Very cute small leaf. And then finally, I think this is our last one of this group. This is the Hoya Tang Hongensis. Looks very similar to the Hoya Serpins, but it's an even tinier leaf, just tiny little thing. So precious. And I have my suspicions. I think this one needs high humidity. Since I've had it, it's gone into the cabinet, so I don't have experience with it out of the cabinet, like in normal room humidity, but I would never in a million years chance it. I think this one needs as high a humidity as you can give it. So that's Hoya Tang Hongensis. All right, next batch. Okay, so this is our last batch of small leaf Hoyas. These also came from the IKEA Millsbo cabinet. These are all planted in pond except for one, which is in water. And let's take a look. So this first one is the Lacunosa Silver Mint Coin. A beautiful silver, just beautiful. And actually, when I saw Lacunosa, I just remembered I have one more over here for us to look at. And it's just it's a plain Lacunosa, but this is the silver mint coin. So beautiful. So since we were just talking about Lacunosa, let me go grab that one I was talking about. It's a larger plant here. And this one, this one right here. So this is so apparently, according to the person I got it from, this is a Lacunosa snowcaps, but it's not. I mean, there's no like splash really on this plant. So I'm not sure exactly what type of Lacunosa it is. It is a Lacunosa. I just don't know exactly what type it is, but it's beautiful. It's dark green. And the neat thing about this plant was I grew this from seeds. So I had purchased another Hoya, and the seller just so kindly threw in a bunch of Hoya seeds. And this is what those seeds became. It's just so amazing. I had never grown a Hoya from seeds before, so this is very special to me. It's a very special plant, and a very special vintage pot too. So that's Hoya. I'm just going to call it Hoya Lacunosa because I really don't know exactly what type it is, but it's very pretty and glossy. Another one with the shiny glossy leaves. Okay, so back to our IKEA cabinet plants. So this is Hoya GPS 7240, another real baby-sized plant. Came to me as, I believe it came to me as a cutting. I'm not positive about that, but it's it kind of gives me Bertonia vibes. It's just kind of, right now, this is a very boring plant to me. So maybe next year at this time, it will be better. We shall see. But yeah, Hoya GPS 7240. And here is another Kiliana, but this is the Hoya Kiliana variegated, but it's the elbow marginata. So instead of the variegation being on the inside of the leaves, it is on the outside. So that's a special one. Pretty big grower. All this grew in my cabinet. It's a nice one. And another variegated version of the kuminjiana. So this is Hoya Kuminjiana variegated. We looked at the plain green. This one I got it was like this tall, just down here, and now it's all the way up here. So I am going to be propagating this one. I think probably all the ones in my cabinet, I don't think they will ever become large plants. I think I want to keep them. The main purpose of these guys is for propagating, and I actually enjoy small leaf, small plants. I enjoy them this size. So when I propagate this plant, I'm going to be bringing it back down here again, and I'm going to watch it grow, because I do enjoy watching them grow like this, and I just like small little plants. I enjoy small plants. I enjoy small leaves. I enjoy small plants. So yeah, they're just cute. So that's the Hoya Kuminjiana variegated. And then we have, here's another Lacunosa. So this is Lacunosa Asami, which is, it's a variegated Lacunosa. Pretty. Again, see that glossiness? Love that. It kind of has more of a Chroniana look to me than a Lacunosa. I don't know. I guess they're very similar plants. The Lacunosa and the Chroniana, very similar. So cute, and huge grower. So this one started out, this is all new. All this trailing here, all new. So, love it. And here's another. This is the Hoya Lacunosa Amarillo. So pretty. Has some nice variegation on it. There's a whole new stem popping out here. One up here. Another very fast grower, and it has those glossy leaves, those shiny leaves, just very pretty. That's Hoya Lacunosa Amarillo, or Amarillo. Pretty. And then I think the last we're going to look at are some Bellas, some Hoya Bellas. So this one is the variegated version. I just vacuumed yesterday and I've made a big mess, of course. Here's a whole new stem popping out. So beautiful, love it. And then, oops, it's a little top heavy. And then this one is the Hoya Bella Louis Bois, which is, I believe it's an inner variegation. So the other one we looked at was outer variegation, and this has inner variegation. Very pretty. And then finally, I think it's our last plant we're looking at here, our last small leaf Hoya. It's another Bella, and this is just a plain, no variegation, your standard Hoya Bella. So beautiful. It's got new growth points on it. This is a cutting I received, and I'm rooting it in water, and it's just gorgeous. Hoya Bella. So that, unless I missed something, I think that is all my small leaf Hoyas. Pretty sure that is it. So that was a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing my collection, my small leaf Hoya collection. If you have any recommendations for me of new small leaf Hoyas to add to my collection, please let me know in the comments. Let me know your favorite small leaf Hoya, not just of what you've seen here, but maybe in your collection, your favorite small leaf Hoya in your collection. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. I do make new videos every week, twice a week, and I would love to have you here as part of this community. So I really hope you guys are having a fabulous week, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye.